Hey y'all, it's Anna here, bringing you a very special edition of TBL Research Rabbit Hole, a monthly social media series where I interview researchers at Thomas Balch Library to talk about fun stories or interesting stories they've uncovered while researching at the library. As you might notice, I am not at the library in Leesburg, Virginia. I'm actually here in Cincinnati, Ohio, at Spring Grove Cemetery. We're going to talk a little bit about my research on a Loudoun man who actually happens to be buried here in this very large cemetery. So I will tell you a little bit more as we walk in this great cemetery about this guy. So let's go. Spring Grove Cemetery is the third largest cemetery in the United States. It is a great example of a rural or garden-style cemetery, which was made popular in the mid-19th century due to overcrowding in church or city cemeteries. This cemetery, created in 1844, is north of the city limits of Cincinnati, Ohio. Now you might be wondering, hey Anna, why are you wearing a dress while you're walking through such a large cemetery? Well, I happen to be here for the American Association for State and Local History Conference in Cincinnati. And while I was taking a break from all the awesome sessions about the public history field, the museum field, and the library field, I decided to take a little trip out to Spring Grove to see if I could find the grave of Thomas Poulton. Thomas Poulton was born in 1826 to Captain Reed and Ansie Poulton of Loudoun County, Virginia. Thomas was one out of 6 children, so it might not be that surprising for him to head west towards Ohio to seek economic opportunity as a young man in the 1850s. Like many other Loudouners and Virginians, he would have made his way up to Frederick, Maryland to hook up with the National Road, or the Cumberland Road, which was a large thoroughfare in early America. After arriving in Wheeling, Virginia, now known as West Virginia, Thomas likely utilized steamboat travel on the Ohio River to get down to Cincinnati. Housed in the Thomas Balch Library archives, there is record of the correspondence from this Poulton family, including a copy of a letter Thomas wrote to his parents from Cincinnati in April 1852. In this letter, Thomas writes to say that he took a position as a bookkeeper for an auction house with Robert S. Reed and George W. Reese on 5th Street, number 17, between Walnut and Main. Now, after looking at city maps and directories, shout out to the Cincinnati Public Library, I realized that this auction house is a 5-minute walk from the conference center that I'm currently at. Here's the street view of that section or that block, and as you can tell, it's very different from what Thomas Poulton would have seen in the 1850s. Unfortunately, only 2 months after he writes this letter to his parents, Thomas's boss, George W. Reese, writes to Reed and Ansie Poulton in Loudoun to inform them of Thomas's untimely death of cholera at the age of 25. This naturally made me very sympathetic to Thomas and made me want to know more about his life through Ancestry.com and other genealogical sources held at the Thomas Balch Library. Now, when I read about Thomas Poulton in these letters and looked him up on Ancestry in connection with the Poulton family of Loudoun, he did not show up in any of the records except for some census records. So other genealogists who had done research on the Poulton family in Ancestry did not connect this Thomas Poulton, Thomas W.M. Poulton, to Reed Poulton's family in Loudoun County, which was very interesting. So I wanted to see if I could find where he was buried, which led me to Spring Grove Cemetery here in Cincinnati. So naturally, I did my research on Cincinnati cemeteries and started my search to find his grave with the largest cemetery, Spring Grove. I got very lucky on my first try, which is not always the case. Spring Grove has a fantastic feature called Locate a Loved One on their website, where you can find anyone buried in the cemetery. As you can see, I found only one Thomas Poulton on my first search. When I looked at his information, it says that his service was in 1891. That seems suspicious, but when I clicked on the burial card, I found that he was reinterred from MP Cemetery, and all the other information like his death date and cause of death matched up with what I knew from the letters. Another fantastic feature on the Spring Grove's website is that you can get the precise coordinates of the burial and use GPS to map it within the cemetery. This made me very confident to find him within this massive area, because like I said, Spring Grove is huge. According to the GPS, it seems like I'm getting pretty close, which is good. Again, probably would not recommend traversing this cemetery in some conference clothes, but I'm really excited to see if I can reunite with my long lost ancestor. Not long lost, but maybe slightly forgotten ancestor, Thomas Poulton. Well, I reached the gravesite and there seems to be no gravestone or headstone for Thomas Poulton in the location that Spring Grove Cemetery has down for him. This could be that he didn't have a headstone, or maybe there was an issue with the cataloging of his reburial, but I am still really glad I made this trip out here. But yeah, beautiful place, great experience, and back to conferencing. Hey, this is post-production Anna sitting in the Cincinnati hotel a day after that little adventure in the cemetery. I just wanted to mention that I did look up that a lot of Spring Grove Cemetery graves, not a lot, but there are quite a bit that don't have gravestones or monuments. So there could be many different reasons why Thomas doesn't have a marker. But that's the reason why maybe I didn't find one yesterday. Regardless, it was a fun little trek, and I'm so happy that I was able to share that with you. And to close out this video, I will give you a slow motion walk of me that I accidentally took when I was trying to be an influencer. So enjoy.